All right. Thank you for attending. This is the YHDP Renewal Project Funding Information Session for the 2024 HUD NOFO. My name is Stephanie Reyes. I'm the Vice President of Programs, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm going to hand it over to Natalie to get us started.
Hey everybody, my name is Natalie Filipovich. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the COC Youth and Special Populations Administrator at CAF. So as Steph mentioned, you all are here for the YHDP Renewal information session for the 2024 NOFO. So presentation overview, what we'll be covering today. We're just going to do a recap of just continuum of care structure and the funding process. We're going to dive into some changes for this year's NOFO. Specifically, this is now a 2-year competition for this NOFO. And then we'll dive into just the process for YHDP renewal, replacement, and reallocation projects. And then we'll dive into the competition timeline, the renewal application process and eSNAPs, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So continuum of care structure overview. So what is the continuum of care? Obviously, you all are renewal projects or YHDP projects who have been funded before. So a little bit of an overview. Development of the continuum of care was done by the Department of Housing and Urban Development in 1994, with the ultimate goal to promote coordination of federal homeless assistance programs within communities. So the COC, or continuum of care, can refer to not only the planning process, but also to the stakeholders, the geographic area, as well as the funding itself. And so there's approximately 400 COCs across the US. And each COC has a lead agency, which for our COC is Community Alliance for the Homeless, that oversees the following responsibilities. So we operate the COC, we operate the coordinated assessment or coordinated entry system. We provide written standards for providing assistance. We design and operate the Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS. And then we also prepare the collaborative application for COC and YHDP program funds. So for our local COC, this is our governance structure. So we are the Tennessee 501 Memphis and Shelby County COC. We also refer to it as the Memphis and Shelby County Homeless Consortium. We have a governing council, which oversees the consortium and is the governing body of it. And then we have lead agency, which is us, Community Alliance for the Homeless. So CAF, we are the COC and HMIS lead. And we are also the collaborative applicant for the COC competition for COC and YHDP funds. And then we're made up of committees, which you all are familiar with and probably attend. So we have all of our COC committees as well. And so getting into the continuum of care funding process. So the COC is the largest annual federal funding source for homeless services and programs. And so the NOFO is typically released in early summer. This year it was released at the end of July. And then it's typically submitted at late summer. This year it will be submitted in October. And then for projects that are awarded, those will begin the following spring and summer. So over on the left side of the screen, again, just the process. HUD releases the COC program NOFO. Applicants submit new or renewal project applications and eSNAPs. And then the COC, or the Community's Rank and Review Committee, kind of prioritizes those projects based on performance, strategic resource allocation, and community impact. And then that rank and review process produces a prioritization list of new and renewal projects, which is submitted to HUD alongside the consolidated application that CAF prepares. And then HUD will make all final funding determinations based on that application. And so all projects except YHDP will be reviewed and ranked by the Rank and Review Committee, which is formed by the governing council of the consortium. All new and renewal projects are then placed onto one prioritization list and then submitted to HUD. And so our community's total potential funding is predetermined by HUD each year. So any opportunities for new funding include any reallocation of existing projects, as well as bonus awards, So for a high scoring consolidated application, we might get bonus awards for the COC or domestic violence bonus awards. Again, once ranking review is completed, CAF then submits all the projects to HUD within that collaborative application, and then HUD will make the final determination of all funding, and there's no guarantee all or any funding will be available for the projects. And so funding that is available within this year's NOFO is 3.5 billion. And then funding that's potentially available locally. So we have about a little over 10.5 million for the COC, over 1.8 available for YHDP funds, and then a little over $1 million in DV bonus funds. And so this year's NOFO released a 2-year application, which I'll go into next. So along with the 2-year applications, there's some other changes too, which we'll dive into for this year's NOFO. So for the 2-year NOFO process application, so essentially this NOFO is for 2 years. So COCs are only required to submit one application that will be applicable to both the fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 24 and then fiscal year 25 funds. So any projects that are awarded fiscal year 24 funds, those projects may be eligible for fiscal year 25 funds with their application that they'll submit as part of this 2024 NOFO. And then you will not be required to submit a renewal application for fiscal year 25 funds. HUD did state within the NOFO that they may change this at any time. So this is what we know as of right now in terms of the 2-year application process. And then any projects, you will have to apply for fiscal year 25 funds if your project is not awarded fiscal year 24 funds, or if there's any applications for projects that, for new projects that might be created through the reallocation of eligible YHDP renewal grants, which includes this new YHDP reallocation project. So I'll jump into that next. So again, as part of this NOFO, you can apply for a YHDP renewal, replacement, or a new reallocation project. So just going over the renewal projects, again, it's just the renewal of the original project for the same recipient. For a YHDP replacement project application, this would be done if a YHDP renewal project is replaced to create one or more new YHDP projects that has the same recipient. And then as part of this NOFO, they now have a new definition called the YHDP reallocation projects, which essentially would be an application for a project for a new YHDP for a new YHDP project that would create a new project that would go to a different recipient. So again, that would be classified under as a YHDP reallocation project. And so we just wanted to touch base with anybody on the call if they were thinking about replacing instead of just renewing their current YHDP projects. If that is the case, definitely get in touch with either myself or Stephanie, and we can kind of walk you through the process of what the YHDP replacement or reallocation process would look like. But next, I'll dive into the YHDP renewal process. Some other changes as well, again, in the COC and the 2024 NOFO. These are just HUD's policy priorities, so we wanted to highlight these, just making sure that your project applications are grounded in these. So again, just ensuring racial equity, building an effective workforce, improving assistance to LGBTQ individuals, including persons with lived experience, increasing affordable housing supply, ending homelessness for all persons, using a housing first approach, reducing unsheltered homelessness, improving system performance, and then partnering with housing, health, and service agencies. In addition, just want to point out the YHDP special activities. So again, as part of this NOFO, similar to previous year's NOFOs, YHDP project applicants can integrate those YHDP special activities into the project design. So you can select these activities within your project application. And there are no specific changes to these activities. They're all can be found in the NOFO as well. So now I'll jump into just what the renewal process looks like and a little bit about what the YHDP replacement process looks like. But so for all applications for YHDP renewal that HUD initially funded in round 4 or 5 will be selected for funding as long as the project passes project eligibility and quality threshold review. And then the YHDP renewal projects will be reviewed separately from the COC projects, so you will not go through the community rank and review process. Again, the NOFO released a 2-year application, so essentially that means your project will be renewed for 2 one-year grant terms. So the application that you'll submit for fiscal year 24 may also be used for awarding of fiscal year 25 funds. In addition, HUD may require grant recipients to correct or revise information that's submitted after the final award announcement. So for renewal applications, these must be submitted by the same recipient that signed the executed grant agreement. Again, they must request the same amount of funding and be for the same program component. And must serve the same population. So again, that's youth age 24 or younger who qualify as homeless under categories 1, 2, and 4 of the HUD homeless definitions. So that includes unaccompanied, pregnant, and parenting youth, or where no member of the household is older than 24. And then as part of the renewal applications, you may request to add any of the eligible special or YHDP special activities. So again, those are all listed within the COC NOFO. And then you can shift up to 10% of funds from one approved eligible activity to another. All right, so that was the YHDP renewal process. So for any project applications that are for YHDP replacement projects, so our placement project would be for, again, any project application that chooses to significantly modify the current project in a way that doesn't meet the renewal criteria. And so then you would have to submit that YHDP replacement project application. And then just wanted to make clear that replacement projects cannot request any capital costs. So that might include any costs for construction, acquisition, or rehabilitation. For all YHDP replacement applications, they must be submitted by the same recipient of the YHDP renewal project. They must be submitted in partnership with CAF. They must include a letter of support from the Youth Action Board of approval of the changes to the project. They must include the grant number for the project being replaced, and they must show that the proposed replacement project is in line with the coordinated community plan. So again, if any of our YHDP projects are considering replacing any significant portions of their project or changing it, let Stephanie and I know. And then again, for the YHDP replacement process, HUD will only fund the following YHDP replacement project activities. So that includes permanent housing, so permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs, joint TH or RH programs, transitional housing or crisis residential transitional housing, and then supportive services, including supportive services for host home and kinship care, as well as HMIS. So jumping into the NOFO competition timeline. So for this year's competition, today we're hosting our information sessions, and then next week we'll have a virtual eSnaps information session for both new and renewal projects at 10 a.m. So that will walk you through just working in eSnaps. And then on September 4th, all consumer surveys for renewal projects are due by 3 p.m. And so those will be due to me, Natalie, and you can email those to me or you can hand deliver them to our office at CAF. We have additional details on slides below, but on And then on 9/13 and 9/16, we'll have in-person eSNAPS office hours for any new renewal and YHDP projects. So that's available for you all to come into the CAF office, sit down with one of us, and go through your eSNAPS application. And then on September 27th, this is the final deadline for all new renewal DV as well as YHDP project applications in eSNAPS. And this is a hard deadline at 2:59 p.m. Again, not 3 o'clock, not 3:01. We want to make sure these get in on time. So again, 9/27 at 2:59 p.m. There's also the Housing First Agreement and Coordinated Entry Agreement, which Stephanie will go over on a few slides next. And so those are also due on that deadline, and those are to be emailed to Stephanie. And then on October 4th, all projects will be notified of ranking or rejection. And then on October 25th, there will be a public posting of the consolidated application draft and the prioritization list. And then on October 30th, that'll be the deadline for any public comments and submission to HUD. And so now just jumping into project requirements. So again, all project applications to HUD must follow Housing First principles. So Housing First is an evidence-based practice that has been proven to end homelessness. So this prioritizes housing first and then pairing that with services for the individual within the housing program. And so all projects that submit an application must agree to house individuals or families, regardless of whether or not they have too little or no income, whether they have a history of substance abuse, have a criminal record, or a history of victimization. All housing programs or project applications must agree to not terminate the individual or family within the program for any failure to participate in supportive services or in religious activities, any failure to make progress on a service plan, for any loss of income or failure to improve income, or any other activity that's not covered within a typical lease agreement. In addition, all project applications must agree to refer any program participants through our COC's coordinated entry system. So if you are a YHDP project, you're already doing that. But again, we have a specific form that Stephanie will walk you through on just making sure that all participants that come to your programs are done through our coordinated entry system. So again, for next steps, so on September 4th, your consumer surveys for any renewal project applications are due to me. So you can email me at natalie@caf.org, or you can hand deliver them to CAF offices by 3 p.m. on September 4th. We have these, the consumer survey linked out on CAF's website and also in this PowerPoint. And then on September 27th at 2:59 p.m., all renewal applications are due in eSNAPS, along with any of those supplemental items that are due to Stephanie via email. All right, so I'll hand it over to Stephanie to walk us through renewal application in eSNAPS.
Hello, thank you, Natalie. You can move to the next slide. Okay, so this is the threshold eligibility criteria that you had to meet upon your original application. And you should definitely let us know if something has changed, because this is also the threshold eligibility criteria for renewals. So you have to have an accounting financial management system that satisfies HUD requirements. You have to have no outstanding delinquent federal debts. You have to have no debarments, suspensions from doing business with federal government. You have to disclose any violations of federal criminal law potentially affecting the federal award. You must agree to participate in coordinated entry if funded. Natalie had mentioned that there's a coordinated entry agreement form that needs to be emailed to me. This is a new thing that we're doing this year. And this is just to really highlight coordinated entry and ensure that everybody who is submitting an application, either new or renewal, really understands what they're agreeing to. So all participants in every program need to be placed through the coordinated entry system. Nobody should be able to walk in off the street and be immediately placed into a program, because we are working to ensure that our system is prioritizing individuals in a fair and standardized way. So there will be an additional form that we will send to you, as well as it will be posted on the website, and you just include that when you or email it to me by the deadline that was mentioned earlier. Additionally, there will be a housing first agreement, and that is for the same exact reasons. We want to make sure that every new and renewal project understands housing first and understands what they're agreeing to do. So those two forms will be shared with you, and you just need to sign them and return them to us. There's no other, there's nothing else that's needed for them. There is also a 25% match unless you have a YHDP waiver that has allowed you to waive that match. It has to have been a special activity that has been approved. You must be a current member of the Shelby County Homeless Consortium. And if you are not currently a member, you can sign up at this link once this is posted, or just go to our website. You must have a current Live Give Mid-South profile, and you must be a 501c3 organization or be a unit of government. And then lastly, you must have a SAM and UEI registration number. Those are all things that you have already done since you are renewal projects. But if anything has changed, please let us know sooner rather than later so we can talk through next steps with you. This is just a reminder, the 25% match can be cash or it can be in kind. Leasing line items do not require a match, and you must have documentation to be submitted with the application. You do not necessarily have to have the match in your bank account, but you do have to have some kind of commitment or plan for it at the time of the application. And there is an exception for YHDP projects. So HUD will not require YHDP renewal or replacement projects to meet the 25% match if the applicant is able to demonstrate it has taken reasonable steps to maximize resources available for youth experiencing homelessness. This special activity must be approved by HUD, though, so do not count on not having a match unless you have talked to HUD about it first. And more information about the match requirements is in the HUD Exchange virtual binders there. All right, so these are some more resources for eSnaps. This is a video about accessing the programs in eSnaps, and then the eSnaps toolkit. There's plenty of resources on eSnaps, but it still can be a confusing system to use. So please take advantage of our office hours and our information session next week so that we can help you as much as possible. These will all be clickable links in the posted PDFs. So now we're going to get into the actual renewal application process to help you get started so you can get in there sooner rather than later. First thing is updating your applicant profile, then registering for the funding opportunity, then creating a new project within that registered funding opportunity, and then accessing that application. So we'll go through those steps briefly right now. So if you are a new user to eSnaps, definitely get in there as soon as possible and get that all set up so that you don't have any issues and you're not held up by your eSnaps access. If you're a returning user, you're going to log in. And then you're going to go to the applicant section on the left-hand side and click on the file folder right there. That's got the black box around it. That's going to open up your applicant profile. You can make sure that all the information is up to date and doesn't need any corrections. If it does, obviously correct those, and then you can submit it. And it will change and be good to go once you've made those edits. Then once you have edited and updated your applicant profile, you can go to the funding opportunity registration page. You'll find the funding opportunity you're looking for. So in this example, it's pointing to renewal project application FY21. You would click on YHDP renewal project application and it would say FY24. So you click on that little file icon to the left, sorry. And then it will ask if you want to register for that funding opportunity. You will say yes. And then you can hit back. It will tell you have been registered. And then once you go back to the screen, you should be able to see that you have one applicant registered under there for your agency. If you do not see that one next to YHDP Renewal Project Application FY 2024, then you did not register correctly and you need to go back and do it again. Once you see that, you can go to the next step, which is going to projects. So you can go to, you'll see open projects under project status, and then you'll see all funding opportunities under the funding opportunity name. You're going to hit that drop down menu and then go to the one that you selected, which would be YHDP Renewal Project Application FY 2024. Click that. Then you'll see that there are no items in here because you have not yet created a new project under that. You've just registered for it. So you're going to hit the little file icon on the left-hand side. And you can type in a new name for that if you want to do Post Homes FY24 or whatever you want to do. You put that in there. If you're able to import the data, I'm not sure, honestly, if we will be able to import data or not. Last year, we were not able to import data for the YHDP projects, but maybe this year we will because it's a new program. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out when we get in there. But if you can import data, then you can select the application from last year that you applied for, and it will import most of the information. So this, for example, is the previous application, and they're using the coordinate entry system 2019 to import data from to apply for the 2021 project. Then you hit save, and it will show you the breakdown. So you have your name, your agency at the top. The funding opportunity name for you would be YHDP Renewal Project Application FY 2024. Then the applicant project name, the name that you created for this project. And then you can hit save, or I guess you already hit save, but you're going to hit back. Then you'll see that now there is a project type under there because you have successfully registered for it, and then you successfully created a project with the name that you wanted, and it should all be there. So then you're gonna go back to submissions, and then you will see at the top it says applicant project name, all projects. You're going to drop down there and find the project that you just created, which for this was the Memphis Shelby County Coordinated Entry System 2021. And then you're going to hit the file folder icon on the left-hand side, and you're in the application. So you'll see that you're in the right spot by the left-hand side. At the top will be the type of project you registered for. So it will say YHDP Renewal Project Application FY 2024 in the light gray on the top left-hand side. Then below that will be all the information, your agency, the application number or the applicant number, and then the new project that you just created. The title will be right there. So please read this page, all the information here before starting the application. You will still need, you can go to the next slide, to fill out these compliance pieces, which are tied into the threshold requirements that we went over before. So this is basically saying, are you delinquent on any federal debts? And then is the applicant subject to review by the state executive order process? So you fill these out, and then it opens up that second half of the application. If you remember previously, this is just that first threshold requirements piece. So once we get through this and you pass all the threshold requirements, the second half of the application should be open. So the submission without changes option, we did not have this option last year because it was our first time renewing everything. So we will have to read through the detailed instructions to understand how to submit the renewal application without changes. In this section of the application, some information can be edited, but others cannot. So when you're importing that data, some stuff you can't change, but you can keep going. Parts to update or complete in the renewal. are any changes from previous NOFO, updated homeless policy priorities, highlights part 1, forms 1A through K. This is all stuff that you will be able to change, and that you'll need to update. Some of these you just need to like hit save, and it will you won't need to make any significant changes to it. And since it's a renewal project, you're not actually allowed to make any significant changes, but there might be some slight things that you can tweak and update here. We'll go over this more, obviously, in the eSnaps info session and then in the office hours, but this was just a brief overview to get you started in case you wanted to jump in sooner. Obviously, as with most grant portals, please save your information, your work somewhere else so that if it doesn't save or it times out or it crashes, you don't lose everything. And then when you're done, please export a PDF copy of your application and email me a copy as well. This is just a reminder about the 25% match. You can skip ahead. We already talked about that. And here's some more resources. All these will be clickable links. The first one is a link to our local competition. So that is our CAF NOFO page. We have not yet opened applications for submission yet. So we're waiting on our scorecard approval from the governing council, which should come by Wednesday of next week. And then after that, we'll open the competition up for everyone. You can still go into eSnaps. You can still work on your application. You just can't submit it this week, which would be really impressive if you were ready to go. But these are all just resources you should check out if you have any issues. So the HUD Exchange has tons of resources. This one will link you to the COC program. eSnaps Toolkits has more information about eSnaps. And then the bottom one is detailed instructions for this NOFO. Detailed instructions for eSnaps will get you through the application. That's your bread and butter once you're in eSnaps. But you definitely should read through the NOFO and understand what you're committing to and agreeing to before getting into that piece. Yeah, thanks for coming. If you have any questions, you can always email me and Natalie. And otherwise, we hope to see you at our eSnaps information session and office hours. Any questions?
A question about the consumer surveys. Is that something that y'all administer directly to the consumers, or is that something the agency administers? And
Yeah, good question. They are currently on the website, and your case managers should basically give them to all of their program participants, and then they submit them back to us after they're done.
okay, is it like a hard copy or
There is a printable version, and there's also a digital version where they can just send them a link and the participant can complete it. And once they hit submit, it will automatically send us a copy. And then they will have a copy, but they should keep all of them together and then just submit them all at once so that make sure we don't miss anything. But
okay, is this something they're already aware of that I don't need to make them aware of, or?
probably not, since they are not at it's their first time renewing fully, and they're
Okay,
not in the info session. So we'll send it out as a reminder to them. But definitely something that you can also send to them as well.
okay, because I know Cheryl is out on family leave, and so I don't know who else
You
keeping
could
up
send
with
it to
this.
Brittany,
Okay,
and we will reach out to the navigation program because they're a subgrant of ours to let them know. So we'll tell Stephanie about it.
okay,
Because we also need to submit consumer surveys for the navigation program. So,
okay.
but yeah, I would just reach out to Brittany and let her know if she has any participants that they should fill that out. And it's just basically like a consumer satisfaction survey to assess, like, are you enjoying the program? Do you feel like your voice is being heard, and etc. So
Is there a certain number that we're required to get, or is it just whatever we can get?
no, and For YHDP, it's slightly different because we're not competitively ranked yet. So this is a factor that goes into the rank and review. So all of the COC programs have to have them back so that they can be, that score that they receive is tallied and put into the scorecard for them. And that contributes to their ranking score. Since YHDP is not competitively ranked at this moment, then I would say get as many as you can, but it's a practice that we do every year. So we did ask them to do this last year. I just don't think that the host homes program was up and having participants yet at that time. So it's an annual thing, and it will eventually, when YHDP is competitively ranked, be counted towards a score. But right now it's just something that we're asking everyone to do so that we can make sure that programs are treating their clients well.
Okay, makes sense.
Any other questions?
Not right now.
All right. Well, if you think of anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll have a good weekend.
You too. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.